I met Rachel at a charity gala 6 months after my wife Margaret died. I was 75 years old, alone for the first time in 52 years, and I wasn't looking for anyone. But Rachel found me. She was 40 years old, beautiful, charming, and she seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. She laughed at my jokes. She touched my arm when we talked. She asked about my career as a cardiac surgeon. She made me feel alive again, in a way I hadn't felt since Margaret's death. I should have known better. I'm a doctor. I spent 48 years studying human physiology, diagnosing diseases, identifying problems that others missed. But when it came to Rachel, I was blind. I wanted to believe that a beautiful 40-year-old woman could genuinely fall in love with a 75-year-old widower. I wanted to believe that the loneliness I felt after Margaret died could be filled by someone new. I was a fool. 3 months into our relationship, I overheard Rachel on the phone in my study. She didn't know I had come home early from the hospital. She was talking to someone, her voice low and excited. "The old man is completely hooked," she said. $3 million in assets. The house alone is worth $1.8 million. He's already talking about putting me in his will. Another 6 months and I'll have everything. My name is Dr. James Morrison, retired cardiac surgeon, 75 years old, widower. And I'm glad you're here watching this. If this story resonates with you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because what I'm about to tell you is about how a gold digger thought she could manipulate a man who spent nearly 5 decades diagnosing problems and solving puzzles. She thought I was just a lonely old man with money. She was wrong. Let me take you back to the beginning. My wife Margaret died of ovarian cancer 18 months before I met Rachel. We had been married for 52 years. High school sweethearts, she was my everything, my partner, my best friend, the mother of our 3 children. When she died, something in me died too. I retired from my surgical practice 6 months after her death. I was 74 years old. I'd performed over 12,000 cardiac surgeries in my career. I'd been chief of cardiothoracic surgery at Boston General Hospital for 20 years. I had trained hundreds of residents. I'd published research papers. I'd received awards. But without Margaret, none of it mattered. So I retired, moved to our vacation home in Naples, Florida. A beautiful house on the water, 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, pool, boat dock. Margaret and I had bought it 15 years earlier as a retirement dream. We were supposed to grow old there together. Instead, I was growing old alone. My children, bless them, tried to help. My oldest daughter Sarah lived in Chicago with her family. My son David was in Seattle. My youngest daughter Jennifer was in Boston. They called regularly. They visited when they could. But they had their own lives, their own families, their own careers. I didn't want to be a burden, so I told them I was fine, that I was adjusting, that I was finding ways to fill my time. It was partly true. I played golf. I volunteered at the local free clinic. I read medical journals. I went to charity events. That's where I met Rachel. It was a fundraiser for the Naples Community Hospital, black tie event, $500 a plate. I almost didn't go, but Sarah had called that morning and told me I needed to get out of the house more. "Stop being a hermit, Dad," she said. "Mom wouldn't want you sitting alone in that big house every night." So I went. I put on my tuxedo, the one Margaret had always said made me look distinguished. I drove to the country club where the event was being held. I sat at a table with people I didn't know, making small talk about golf handicaps and real estate values. And then Rachel sat down next to me. She was stunning. Long, dark hair, green eyes, a red dress that was elegant without being inappropriate. She smiled at me and extended her hand. "Hi," she said. "I'm Rachel Martinez. I don't think we've met." "James Morrison," I said, shaking her hand. "Nice to meet you. Are you new to Naples?" "I've been here about a year," Rachel said. "I moved from Miami after my divorce. Needed a fresh start, you know?" I nodded. "I understand fresh starts." She tilted her head. "That sounds like there's a story there." "My wife passed away last year," I said. 52 years of marriage." Rachel's face filled with sympathy. "I'm so sorry. That must be incredibly difficult." "It is," I said, "but I'm managing." We talked through dinner. She asked about my career. I told her about cardiac surgery, about the thrill of saving lives, about the satisfaction of teaching young doctors. She seemed genuinely interested, asking intelligent questions, nodding at the right moments. "What do you do?" I asked her. "I'm an interior designer," Rachel said. "Freelance. I work with clients who want to redesign their homes, update their spaces. It's creative work." "I love it. That sounds wonderful," I said. At the end of the evening, Rachel asked for my phone number. "I'd love to continue this conversation," she said. "Maybe over coffee sometime?" I gave her my number, and I drove home that night feeling something I hadn't felt in 18 months. Hope, possibility, the sense that maybe, just maybe, life wasn't over. Rachel called 3 days later. We met for coffee at a cafe overlooking the water. We talked for 3 hours. She was easy to talk to, funny, warm. She told me about her childhood in Miami, her failed marriage to a real estate developer, her dreams of starting her own design firm. I told her about growing up in Massachusetts, my medical training, my career, my children. At the end of coffee, she suggested dinner. "I'd love to hear more about your work," she said. "And maybe you could tell me about your house? I'm always curious about how doctors decorate their homes." We had dinner that Friday, then again the following Tuesday, then the next weekend. Within a month, we were seeing each other twice a week. Within 6 weeks, she was staying over at my house on weekends. It felt fast, but I was 75 years old. How much time did I have to waste? Rachel made me feel young. She was attentive, affectionate. She cooked dinner for me. She laughed at my stories. She held my hand when we walked on the beach. She seemed to genuinely care about me. My children were skeptical. When I told Sarah about Rachel, there was a long pause on the phone. "Dad," Sarah said carefully, "I'm glad you're not alone anymore. But don't you think this is moving kind of fast? She's 35 years younger than you." "It doesn't matter," I said. "Age is just a number. We connect. She makes me happy." "I know," Sarah said. "I just don't want you to get hurt." "I won't," I said. "I'm a smart man, Sarah. I know what I'm doing." Looking back now, I realize how defensive I sounded, how naive, but I didn't want to hear it. I was lonely. Rachel filled that loneliness, and I was willing to ignore any warning signs because the alternative was going back to being alone. 2 months into our relationship, Rachel started hinting about moving in together. "You have all this space," she said one evening as we sat on my back patio watching the sunset. 4 bedrooms. "It seems silly for you to be here alone while I'm paying rent on a tiny apartment across town." I hesitated. Moving in together felt like a big step. "Rachel," I said, "I care about you, but I need to take this slowly. Margaret and I lived in this house together. It still feels like her house in many ways." Rachel nodded sympathetically. "Of course, I understand. I'm not trying to replace her, James. I could never do that. I just want to be here for you, support you. We don't have to rush anything." But 2 weeks later, she brought it up again. And again, 2 weeks after that. Each time, her arguments got more persuasive. "Think of how nice it would be to wake up together every morning. Think of how much money I'd save on rent. Think of how I could help you take care of this big house." Finally, 3 months into our relationship, I agreed. Rachel moved in on a Saturday in June. She brought 3 suitcases and some boxes of personal belongings. Not much for a 40-year-old woman, I thought. But she said she had sold most of her furniture when she moved to Naples. That made sense. Once she moved in, things changed. Subtly at first. She started redecorating. "Just small things," she said, updating the space, making it feel more modern. She replaced Margaret's curtains in the living room. She bought new throw pillows for the couch. She hung different artwork in the hallway. Each change individually was minor, but together they began to erase Margaret from the house. My children noticed when they visited. "Dad," Jennifer said quietly during a visit in July, "where's Mom's quilt? The one that was on the back of the couch?" "Rachel thought it looked dated," I said. "She's just trying to freshen things up." Jennifer pressed her lips together. "Okay," she said, "if that's what you want." But I could see the hurt in her eyes. And I felt guilty, but I didn't say anything to Rachel. I didn't want to seem like I was living in the past. 3.5 months after Rachel moved in, I started noticing other things. Small at first. Money disappearing from my wallet, never much. $50 here, $100 there. Not enough to make me suspicious, but enough that I noticed. Credit card charges I didn't recognize. When I asked Rachel about them, she had explanations. Oh, I picked up groceries. I bought some things for the house. I got gas. It seemed reasonable. But the amounts didn't quite match her explanations. Then there was the jewelry. Margaret's jewelry. I kept it in a safe in my study. Her engagement ring, her pearls, the diamond earrings I had given her for our 50th anniversary, the sapphire bracelet she wore on special occasions. All of it had significant sentimental value. Some of it had significant monetary value too. One afternoon, I opened the safe to look at Margaret's engagement ring. I did that sometimes when I missed her, held her ring, remembered our life together. But the ring wasn't where I had left it. I looked through the safe carefully. The ring was gone. So were the diamond earrings. I felt panic rise in my chest. I searched the study. Nothing. I checked my bedroom. Nothing. Then I asked Rachel, "Have you seen Margaret's engagement ring?" I asked her that evening. She was in the kitchen making dinner. She looked up, her face carefully neutral. "No," she said. "Why?" "It's missing from the safe," I said, "along with her diamond earrings." "Are you sure?" Rachel asked. "Maybe you moved them and forgot." "I'm 75, not senile," I said, more sharply than I intended. "I know where I kept them." Rachel's face hardened for just a moment. Then she smiled sympathetically. "I'm sure they'll turn up. Maybe you put them somewhere else for safekeeping." But they didn't turn up. And deep down, I knew I hadn't moved them. But I didn't want to believe what that meant. I didn't want to believe that Rachel had stolen them. Because if she had, that meant everything about our relationship was a lie. And I wasn't ready to face that yet. Then came the conversation I overheard. It was a Wednesday afternoon in September, 4 months after Rachel had moved in. I had gone to the hospital for a meeting about the charity clinic. I was supposed to be gone all afternoon, but the meeting ended early. I drove home around 2 o'clock. Rachel's car was in the driveway. I came in through the garage, quietly. I don't know why I was quiet, maybe some instinct. I heard her voice coming from my study. She was on the phone. The door was partially open. I stood in the hallway and listened. "I know it's taking longer than I thought," Rachel was saying, "but he's completely hooked. He talks about putting me in his will constantly. He's already given me access to one of his credit cards. Another few months and I'll have everything positioned perfectly." There was a pause while the person on the other end spoke. $3 million, Rachel said. "That's what his estate is worth. The house is $1.8 million. He's got investment accounts, retirement savings, the boat. It's all there. And he's 75. How much longer can he last? Even if he lives another 10 years, I'll still be young enough to enjoy the money." Another pause. "No, the kids are suspicious," Rachel said, "especially the daughters. But he won't listen to them. He thinks I love him." She laughed. "It's actually kind of pathetic how desperate he is for affection. I just have to keep playing the role for a little while longer." I stood in the hallway, my hand on the wall to steady myself. My heart was pounding, not from exertion, from rage, and from something worse, humiliation. I had been a cardiac surgeon for 48 years. I had diagnosed complex medical conditions. I had made life or death decisions. I had been trusted with thousands of lives. And I had been completely fooled by a woman who saw me as nothing more than a wallet with a heartbeat. I quietly walked back to the garage, got in my car, drove around for an hour. When I came back, Rachel was in the kitchen making dinner. "Hey, sweetheart," she said, smiling. "You're home early." "Meeting ended sooner than expected," I said. My voice sounded normal. Calm. "How was your day?" "Fine," Rachel said. "Quiet. I worked on some designs for a potential client, ran some errands." I nodded, sat down at the kitchen table, watched her cook, and I started planning. Because if Rachel thought she was going to manipulate a man who had spent nearly 50 years solving complex problems, she was very wrong. I'd built a medical career on careful diagnosis, strategic planning, and precise execution. I was about to apply those same skills to destroying the woman who thought she could steal my life. That night, I didn't sleep much. I lay in bed next to Rachel, her body curled against mine, and I thought about everything. How she had approached me at the charity gala, how quickly our relationship had progressed, how she had maneuvered her way into my house, how things had started disappearing, the jewelry, the money, how she had slowly erased Margaret from our home. It had all been calculated, strategic. She had identified a target, a wealthy widower, lonely, vulnerable, and she had executed her plan perfectly. Except for one thing. She had underestimated me. The next morning, I went to my study after Rachel left for a supposed client meeting. I opened my safe, checked what was still there. Margaret's sapphire bracelet was gone. So was a Rolex watch I had been given as a retirement gift. So was $5,000 in cash I kept for emergencies. I documented everything, made a list, took photos of the empty spaces in the safe. Then I called my lawyer. His name was Robert Chen. He had handled my medical malpractice insurance for 30 years. He had drafted my will after Margaret died. He knew my financial situation intimately. "Robert," I said when he answered, "I need to meet with you. Today, if possible. It's urgent." "James," Robert said. "Of course. What's going on?" "I'd rather discuss it in person," I said. "Can you meet me for lunch?" We met at a quiet restaurant downtown. I told Robert everything. The relationship with Rachel, how she had moved in, the overheard phone conversation, the missing jewelry and money. Robert listened carefully, his face growing more serious as I talked. When I finished, he sat back and let out a long breath. "James," he said, "I'm going to be very direct with you. This is elder financial abuse. What you're describing is a crime. She's not just a gold digger, she's a con artist, possibly a thief. You need to contact the police." "Not yet," I said. "I want to gather more evidence first. I want to make sure the case against her is airtight." Robert frowned. "Why wait?" "Because," I said, "I want to understand the full scope of what she's done. I want to know if she's done this before. I want to know who she was talking to on the phone. I want to build a case that doesn't just expose her, but destroys any possibility that she can do this to someone else." Robert nodded slowly. "Okay. But we need to be smart about this. First, we need to protect your assets immediately. I want to move money into accounts she doesn't have access to. I want to put a freeze on any new access to your finances, and I want to change your will immediately." "Already planning to do all of that," I said. Robert smiled. "You were always 3 steps ahead in surgery too." "Okay, let's start documenting everything, every conversation, every suspicious activity, every piece of jewelry that goes missing. Keep a written record, dates, times, details." "I will," I said. "And Robert? I need you to hire a private investigator, someone who can look into Rachel's background, her claims about being an interior designer, her supposed divorce, her life in Miami. I want to know who she really is." Robert hired the private investigator that afternoon. His name was Marcus DeWitt, former FBI agent, specialized in financial crimes and fraud. He was expensive, but I didn't care. Marcus came to my house 2 days later when Rachel was out. I showed him photos of her, gave him her full name, Rachel Elizabeth Martinez, told him everything I knew about her background, the stories she had told me about Miami, her ex-husband, her design business, everything. Marcus took notes efficiently. "Dr. Morrison," he said, "I'll start with the basics. Public records, court documents, business registrations, social media, financial records if I can access them legally. Give me 2 weeks. If there's anything to find, I'll find it." "Thank you," I said. In the meantime, I started documenting everything. I bought a small voice-activated recorder, the kind police use for interviews. I kept it in my study. When Rachel was on the phone, I recorded her conversations. When she talked about money or the house or my estate, I documented it. I also installed small security cameras, hidden ones, in my study, in the bedroom, in the living room. I told myself it was to catch her stealing, but it was more than that. I needed to see who she really was when she thought no one was watching. The cameras revealed things that made my blood boil. When I was out of the house, Rachel would go through my papers. She photographed documents, my bank statements, my investment portfolios, my life insurance policies. She made phone calls, always to the same number, discussing timelines, discussing how to move faster, discussing what she would do with the money once I was dead. Those words, captured on my hidden camera, made everything clear. Rachel wasn't just planning to manipulate me into changing my will, she was planning for my death, maybe even hastening it. 2 weeks later, Marcus called me. "Dr. Morrison," he said, "we need to meet. I have information you need to see." I met him at his office. He had a thick file folder on his desk. Marcus opened it and spread documents across the desk. "Rachel Elizabeth Martinez," he began, age 40, born in Hialeah, Florida, and she's been running cons for at least 15 years. He showed me the documents, court records, restraining orders, civil judgments. Rachel had been married 3 times, not divorced once as she claimed, married 3 times to wealthy older men. The first husband was a retired banker in Miami, age 72 when they married. Rachel was 28. They were married for 18 months. He died of a heart attack. Rachel inherited everything, approximately $800,000. The second husband was a real estate developer in Fort Lauderdale, age 68 when they married. Rachel was 32. They were married for 2 years. He died in a fall down the stairs at their home. Accidental death, according to the police report. But, Marcus said, the man's adult children contested the will. They claimed Rachel had been coercing their father. The case was settled out of court. Rachel got approximately $1.2 million. The third husband was a retired corporate executive in Tampa, age 75 when they married. Rachel was 36. They were married for 1 year. He died of what was ruled as an accidental drug overdose, his prescription medications. Rachel claimed he had been depressed and confused about his dosages. She inherited approximately $2.5 million. I stared at the documents. 3 wealthy older men, all dead within 2 years of marrying her, all their money inherited by Rachel. "Marcus," I said. My voice was steady but cold. "Are you telling me she killed them?" "I can't prove that," Marcus said. "The police ruled all 3 deaths as either natural or accidental." "But," he continued, "here's the interesting part. After each husband's death, Rachel disappeared for a year or 2, changed her appearance slightly, let things cool down. Then she resurfaced in a new city with a new identity and a new target. In Fort Lauderdale, she went by Rachel Delgado. In Tampa, she used Rachel Martinez Williams. Here in Naples, she's back to Rachel Martinez." He showed me more documents, driver's licenses with different addresses, business registrations for interior design firms that never actually operated, social media accounts that were scrubbed clean after each husband's death. "She's a professional," Marcus said. "She targets wealthy widowers, men who are lonely and vulnerable after losing their wives. She moves fast, ingratiates herself, moves in, starts positioning herself for inheritance, and then, if the timeline isn't moving fast enough, she helps it along." I felt cold. "How close am I to the danger zone?" I asked. "Based on the pattern," Marcus said, "you're entering it. Her first 2 husbands died around the 18-month mark. Her third husband died at 12 months. You've been together for what, 4 months?" 4.5, I said. "So I probably have 6 to 12 months before she decides to accelerate things," I said. Marcus nodded. "That would be my assessment, unless she's already started." "What do you mean?" I asked. Marcus pulled out another document. I checked with a pharmacist contact of mine. Asked him to look into whether any prescriptions in your name have been filled recently. 3 prescriptions in your name were filled at a pharmacy across town 2 months ago. 1 was for a blood thinner. "Warfarin. Do you take blood thinners?" "No," I said. "I'm on a statin for cholesterol." "That's it." Marcus looked grim. "She's already positioning. If she can get you taking a blood thinner you don't need, and then arrange an accident, a fall, a bump on the head, anything that causes bleeding, it could be fatal, and it would look like an accident or a complication of your legitimate medical condition." I sat back in my chair. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. This woman had come into my home, slept in my bed, pretended to care about me, all while planning my murder, just like she had murdered 3 other men. That night, I didn't go home right away. I sat in my car in a parking lot overlooking the bay, and I thought about my options. I could go to the police with everything Marcus had found, the pattern of dead husbands, the fraudulent prescriptions, the theft. They might investigate. They might even arrest her. But would they charge her with murder? The previous deaths had all been ruled accidental or natural. Without concrete proof, a good lawyer could argue it was all circumstantial, and even if they arrested her, she might make bail, might disappear again, move to another city, find another victim. No, that wasn't good enough. I wanted her stopped completely, permanently. I wanted her in prison for the rest of her life, and I wanted everyone to know what she had done. So, I needed more evidence, direct evidence, evidence of her attempting to murder me. I needed to catch her in the act. I called Robert Chen. "Robert," I said, "I need you to do something for me." "What is it?" he asked. "I need you to create a new will," I said. "A fake one. One that leaves everything to Rachel. I need it to look completely legitimate. Official documents, notarized, everything. But I need you to keep it separate from my real will." "Why?" Robert asked. "Because," I said, "I'm going to let Rachel find it. I'm going to let her think she's succeeded, that I've fallen completely under her control. And then I'm going to watch what she does next." "James," Robert said carefully, "this is dangerous. If you're right about what Marcus found, this woman is a serial killer. If you make her think she's about to inherit $3 million, she might accelerate her timeline." "That's exactly what I want," I said. "I need her to try something we can document and prove, something that will put her away forever. I need you to trust me, Robert. I've spent 48 years making life or death decisions. I know what I'm doing." There was a long pause. "Okay," Robert said. "I'll draft the fake will. But James, promise me you'll be careful, and at the first sign of actual danger, we're going to the police." "Agreed," I said. But I had no intention of stopping until Rachel was behind bars. Robert created the fake will within 3 days. It was perfect, looked completely legitimate, left my entire estate to Rachel Elizabeth Martinez, my beloved companion, the document read, who has brought joy back into my life. I left the document in my study, in a folder labeled Updated Estate Documents, right where Rachel would find it when she went through my papers, which she did. I watched on the hidden camera as she discovered it 2 days later. She was in my study when I was supposedly at the golf course. She opened the folder, read the will. Her face transformed, a smile of pure triumph. She took photos of every page with her phone. Then she called someone. "It's done," she said. The old fool updated his will. "Everything comes to me. No contest, no waiting. When he dies, I get it all." Another pause. "Yes, I think it's time to move forward. Maybe 2 months. I want to make sure everything is in place. We'll make it look like a stroke. He's 75. He's on cholesterol medication. No one will question it." Another pause. Then Rachel laughed. "I've done this 3 times before. I know how to make it look natural. Trust me, this will be easy." I watched the video 5 times. Each time, my rage grew colder, more focused. She was planning to murder me in 2 months. She was going to make it look like a stroke, and she thought it would be easy. I called Marcus. "I need you to document everything from this point forward," I said. "Every move she makes, every phone call, every person she meets. I need a complete record." "Already on it," Marcus said. "I've been following her for the past week. She meets with a man every Tuesday afternoon. They go to a hotel. I've identified him. His name is Vincent Rossi. He's her accomplice. He was involved with her in Tampa during the last marriage. I need photos," I said, "everything. Documentation that proves they're working together." "You'll have it," Marcus said. "In the meantime, I'm also documenting the prescription fraud. I've got the pharmacy records, the forged signature on the prescriptions, everything." "Good," I said. "Keep building the case. I'm going to give her 2 more weeks. Then we're going to the police with everything." "Why wait 2 weeks?" Marcus asked. "Because," I said, "I want her to attempt something. I want her to try to give me those blood thinners. I want her to try to set up whatever accident she's planning, and I want it all on camera." Marcus was quiet. "Dr. Morrison," he said, "that's incredibly dangerous." "I know," I said, "but I need absolute proof of attempted murder. Otherwise, a good lawyer might get her off on the other charges. This way, we'll have everything. The pattern of dead husbands, the theft, the fraud, and attempted murder caught on video. She'll never get out of prison." The next week, things started happening. I began to feel dizzy at times, lightheaded. I would stand up and feel the room spin. At first, I thought it was just age, low blood pressure. But then I checked my medication bottles. The bottle for my statin, my cholesterol medication, was in my medicine cabinet just like always. But when I opened it and looked closely at the pills, they looked slightly different shape. I took one to a pharmacist I trusted, a friend from the hospital. "Can you tell me what this is?" I asked. He examined it carefully. Then he looked up at me with concern. "This is warfarin," he said. "A blood thinner, a high dose." "Why are you taking this?" "I'm not supposed to be," I said. "Someone switched my medication." The pharmacist's face went pale. "Dr. Morrison, if you've been taking this thinking it's your cholesterol medication, you're in danger. Warfarin in the wrong dose, especially if you're not supposed to be on it, can cause serious bleeding. Any injury could be fatal." "I know," I said. "That's exactly what someone is counting on." I went home. Rachel was there, cooking dinner. "Hey, sweetheart," she said. "How was your day?" "Fine," I said. "Just feeling a little dizzy lately." "Have you been?" Rachel's face showed concern. But I saw something else in her eyes, calculation. "Maybe you should sit down more. Take it easy. You're not as young as you used to be." I nodded, went to my study, reviewed the camera footage from the bathroom. Sure enough, 3 days earlier, Rachel had gone into the medicine cabinet when I was out. She had switched my pills, replaced my statin with warfarin. She was poisoning me, setting me up for a fatal accident. That night, I didn't take my medication. I palmed the pill and flushed it down the toilet. I did the same thing every night after that, pretending to take the poison she'd given me. But I also started to act like I was getting weaker, more dizzy, more confused. I stumbled occasionally. I held onto furniture when I walked. I mentioned to Rachel that I was thinking about seeing a doctor. But I didn't go. I wanted her to think her plan was working. At the same time, Marcus was gathering evidence. He followed Vincent Rossi, documented meetings between Vincent and Rachel, photographed them at hotels, recorded phone conversations where they discussed their plans, the timeline, the method, the payoff. Marcus also worked with the Naples Police Department. He had contacts there from his FBI days. He presented them with everything we had discovered. The pattern of dead husbands, the court records, the stolen jewelry, the fraudulent prescriptions, the switched medications. The police assigned a detective to the case. Her name was Maria Santos. She was a 20-year veteran of the Fraud and Elder Abuse Division. "Dr. Morrison," Detective Santos said when we met, "what you've uncovered here is a serial killer. We need to arrest her immediately." "Not yet," I said. "Give me 1 more week. I want to catch her attempting the final act, the murder itself." "That's too dangerous," Santos said. "We have enough to arrest her right now for fraud, theft, prescription forgery. We can hold her and build the murder case while she's in custody." "But will you be able to prove the murders?" I asked, "or will a good lawyer argue that the previous deaths were coincidental?" Santos hesitated. "It's circumstantial," she admitted. "We'd need more to prove the murders." "Then give me 1 more week," I said. "I'm setting a trap, and I need you to be ready to move the moment she steps into it." I planned carefully, as carefully as I had ever planned a complex surgery. I knew Rachel was planning to stage an accident, a fall, a blow to the head, something that, combined with the blood thinners she thought I was taking, would cause fatal bleeding. So I gave her the perfect opportunity. I told her I wanted to clean out the garage. "It's been neglected since Margaret died," I said. "I need to go through boxes, get rid of things, make space." "When are you thinking of doing this?" Rachel asked. Her voice was casual, but I saw the interest in her eyes. "This weekend," I said. "Saturday afternoon. I'll probably be out there for a few hours. Want to help?" She smiled. "Of course. I'd love to help." That Friday, I met with Detective Santos and Marcus. "Everything is set," I said. "I've installed 3 additional cameras in the garage. High definition, audio and video. I've informed my children. They'll be at a hotel nearby, ready to move if anything goes wrong. My lawyer has all the documentation, the real will, the evidence files, everything." "Are you sure about this?" Santos asked. She looked worried. "This woman has killed at least 3 men, maybe more. If she gets the opportunity, she will try to kill you." "I know," I said, "but I'll be ready. And you'll be watching the camera feeds in real time. The moment she does anything, you move in." Santos nodded. "We'll have a tactical team standing by, 2 blocks away, unmarked vehicles. The moment we see attempted murder, we'll be there in under 60 seconds." That Saturday was sunny and warm, perfect Florida weather. Rachel and I had breakfast together. She was cheerful, chatty, talking about plans for redecorating the living room, about a trip she wanted to take, about how nice it was that we had found each other. I played along, agreed with her plans, told her how happy I was. All the while, my heart was cold and my mind was clear. We went to the garage around 2 o'clock. I'd positioned boxes and furniture, strategically, created spaces where an accident could plausibly happen. A stepladder left open, tools on a high shelf, boxes stacked precariously. Rachel looked around. "Wow, this is a mess," she said. "Where should we start?" "Why don't you hand me boxes from that top shelf?" I said. "I'll sort through them down here. I have some old medical textbooks up there I want to go through." I set up the stepladder, started climbing, acted unsteady. "Rachel," I said, "can you hold the ladder? I feel a little dizzy." "Of course," she said. She moved behind the ladder, held it. I reached for a box on the top shelf, and that's when Rachel pushed the ladder. It wasn't a huge push, just enough to make the ladder shift, make me lose my balance. I grabbed for the shelf, but missed, fell backwards, landed hard on the concrete garage floor. The impact knocked the wind out of me. My head hit the ground. For a moment, I just lay there. Rachel stood over me. Her face showed concern, but her eyes were calculating, watching to see if I would get up. "James," she said. "Oh my God, are you okay?" I groaned, held my head. I felt blood. I'd cut my scalp in the fall. It was bleeding, as head wounds do, heavily. "Rachel," I said weakly, "call an ambulance. I need help." "In a moment," Rachel said. "Let me see how bad it is first." She knelt next to me, looked at the blood, and she smiled. Just slightly. Just for a moment. But I saw it. She thought I was dying. Thought the blood thinners she believed I was taking would make me bleed out before help arrived. She thought she had succeeded. "James," she said, pulling out her phone. "I'm calling 911 right now." But she didn't dial 911. She dialed a different number. It rang once before a voice answered. "It's done," Rachel said quietly. "He fell. He's bleeding from his head. The blood thinners are working. I'd say 15 minutes and he'll be unconscious. Maybe 20 minutes and he'll be dead." Then I heard Detective Santos's voice shouting from somewhere outside. "Police! Rachel Martinez, you're under arrest. Hands where we can see them." Rachel's face went white. She looked at the phone in her hand, looked at me on the ground, and she realized. The garage door burst open. 4 police officers in tactical gear rushed in, weapons drawn. "Rachel Martinez," Santos shouted, "you are under arrest for attempted murder, elder abuse, theft, and fraud. On the ground, now." Rachel didn't move. She just stared at me. "You," she said, "you were faking the whole time, every moment of weakness, every confused look." I had my eyes closed, but I opened them now, looked directly at her. "I'm a doctor, Rachel. I spent 48 years diagnosing problems and solving them. Did you really think I wouldn't figure out what you were doing?" The paramedics arrived within minutes. They checked me out. The head wound looked worse than it was. Superficial, 6 stitches, mild concussion. "I'll be fine," I told the EMTs. "I've had worse injuries in medical school." Detective Santos came to the hospital where they patched me up. "Dr. Morrison," she said, "that was incredibly reckless and incredibly brave." "I had to be sure," I said, "had to catch her in the act. Otherwise, she might have gotten away with it." Santos nodded. "Well, you got what you needed. We arrested her accomplice Vincent Rossi, too. He was sitting in a car 3 blocks away, waiting for Rachel's call. When he heard she had been arrested, he tried to run. We caught him at the airport." "What will they be charged with?" I asked. Santos smiled. "Attempted murder, elder abuse, theft, fraud, prescription forgery, conspiracy to commit murder. and we're working with prosecutors in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa to reopen investigations into the deaths of her 3 previous husbands. With the evidence you gathered and her statements caught on camera today, we think we can get murder charges filed in at least 2 of those cases. Rachel is looking at life in prison without parole." "Good," I said. "That's exactly what she deserves." My children arrived at the hospital an hour later. Sarah, David, Jennifer. All 3 had flown in when I told them what was happening. They were furious that I had put myself in danger, but they were also relieved. "Dad," Sarah said, holding my hand, "you could have been killed." "I know," I said, "but I couldn't let her get away with it. She killed at least 3 men, maybe more. Someone had to stop her." Jennifer wiped tears from her eyes. "Mom would have been so proud of you. You used your brain and your training to catch a serial killer." "Margaret would have been terrified," I said. "But yes, I think she would have approved." David squeezed my shoulder. "So what happens now?" "Now," I said, "we go home, we move on, and we make sure that woman never hurts anyone again." The trial took place 7 months later. I testified for 2 days, told the jury about meeting Rachel, about how she had manipulated me, about how I discovered her plan, about the hidden cameras, the investigation, the trap we set. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. The footage of Rachel admitting to planning my death, the documentation of her 3 previous marriages and the suspicious deaths, the testimony of Marcus DeWitt about the pattern he uncovered, the testimony of the pharmacist about the forged prescriptions and the switched medication, the footage of Rachel pushing the ladder in the garage, her phone call admitting the murder attempt while I lay bleeding on the ground. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They found Rachel guilty on all counts: attempted murder, 3 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of her previous husbands, multiple counts of fraud, theft, and elder abuse. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As Rachel was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, she looked at me one last time. I met her eyes, held her gaze, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just relief that she could never hurt anyone again. Vincent Rossi took a plea deal, testified against Rachel in exchange for 20 years in prison instead of life. He admitted to helping Rachel plan all 4 murders, to helping her identify wealthy targets, to creating false identities. He gave prosecutors details they never could have gotten otherwise. After the trial, I moved back to Boston, sold the house in Naples. Too many bad memories there. I moved into a condo near my daughter Jennifer and her family. Decided I wanted to be close to family, close to people I trusted. I'm 76 now, older, maybe wiser, definitely more cautious. I date occasionally, but I'm careful, very careful. I verify everything. I trust my instincts, and I never, ever ignore warning signs. My children joke that I've become paranoid. Maybe I have, but I'm alive. And Rachel's in prison. That's enough. If you're watching this video, I want you to know something. If you're a widow or widower, if you've lost someone you loved and you're feeling lonely, please be careful. There are people out there who prey on that loneliness, who see your grief as an opportunity, who view your life savings as their retirement plan. Don't let anyone rush you. Don't let anyone isolate you from your family. Don't let anyone pressure you to change your will or give them access to your finances. And if something feels wrong, trust that instinct. Your gut is usually right. Document everything. Keep records. Tell your family what's happening. Get their input. Listen to their concerns. I ignored my children's warnings about Rachel. That was a mistake. They saw what I didn't want to see. Most importantly, remember that real love doesn't have a price tag. Real love doesn't come with a timeline or an agenda. Real love doesn't ask you to cut off your family or change your will after 3 months. If someone is with you for your money, eventually they'll show you who they really are. Pay attention, be smart, protect yourself. I was lucky. I'm a doctor. I had training in observation and diagnosis. I had resources to hire investigators and build a case. But you don't need to be a doctor to protect yourself. You just need to be aware, to be cautious, to trust your instincts. Rachel tried to make me her 4th victim. but I refused to be a statistic. I used my brain, my training, and my resources to catch her, and I made sure she'll never hurt another person. That's my legacy. Not the surgeries I performed, not the papers I published, but the fact that I stopped a serial killer and protected every potential future victim she might have found. Thank you for watching my story. I hope it gives you courage. I hope it reminds you to trust your instincts. I hope it helps you see the warning signs before it's too late. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. God bless you all, and remember, you are stronger and smarter than you think. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. On the end screen, I'm leaving you 2 more stories from this channel about people who faced betrayal and came out victorious. Thank you for staying until the end. Until next time, stay safe and trust your instincts.